Hi, I'm Don Church. Welcome to Grosvenor Park United Church. We miss you all. Hope to see you soon.
It's great to be alive! Welcome to Grosvenor Park.
Welcome to Grosvenor Park United Church online service.
Welcome to Grosvenor Park United Church.
Hello, my name is Craig Neely. I am the Grosvenor Park United Church Congregational leader for today. On behalf of our minister, Reverend Nobuko Iwai, and our congregation, I extend to you a warm welcome to this recorded worship for Sunday, July 5, 2020. Our worship service will consist of scripture, prayer, special music, and a message from Reverend Nobuko. The main portion of the worship service has been pre-recorded. Following the service, there will be Zoom time at 10:30 a.m. on July 5 for prayers of the people and coffee hour. All are welcome to participate. And now let us begin with worship and the passing of the peace. Wakotowin, Emarimbe, Wetaskun. God calls us to live in peace, two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, heterosexual, transgender, cisgender, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, non-binary, gender fluid, and ally. Seeking reconciliation as Treaty 6 people as we gather on Treaty 6 land and the traditional homeland of the Métis, also recognizing the non-treaty Dakota First Nation and the Roundtree Métis, who were instrumental in the building of the city of Saskatoon. The peace of Christ be with us all, and welcome to worship.
Hello everyone, my name is Lorne Deighton and I'm reading the scripture today for July 5th. And the scripture reading comes from Matthew chapter 11 verses 28 to 30. It says, "Come to me, all you who labor and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon your shoulders and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble of heart. Here you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light.
Come to me, all who labor and are heavy burdened, and I shall give you rest. Take up my yoke and learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart, and you will rest for your souls. Yes, my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy burdened, and I shall give you rest. Take up my yoke and learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart, and you'll find rest for your souls. Yes, my yoke is easy, and my burden is light.
Okay, I'll read it. Sure, Geraldine. Let's see. Come to me, all who labor and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. From the Gospel according to Matthew. Really, Geraldine? So, when you feel emotionally, physically, spiritually exhausted, when numbness fills your being and you hear these words, come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. It brings tears to your eyes. Well, some people would call you a beast of burden, Geraldine, and you do work awfully hard. But tell me more. Tell me more about these tears. What kind of tears are they? Okay. Tears of awe and thanksgiving. Tears of gratitude. When you feel like you've not done enough or you are not enough, and you hear these words of welcome that invite you just to rest and relax and be refreshed, it just makes you cry. Well, yeah, I mean, rest and refreshment is important for everybody, people and donkeys alike. Sabbath rest and renewal is built into the rhythms of life for the faithful. For the Jewish people, the Sabbath began on Friday evening, and as the sun sets begins with a candle being lit, a prayer being said, a meal being shared, and a good night of rest. Sabbath begins by feeding the body, the mind, the soul with nourishment and rest and joy. Well, yeah, and how do you rest, Geraldine? You lie down, you eat, you appreciate the clean hay, nobody pulls your harness, takes you where you do not want to go. Oh, well. Oh, yeah, for us too, we're going to take a little bit of a slow down. The summer GPUC will be putting out fewer leaflets, and the Contemplative Arts Festival of Saskatoon Facebook page is also going on sabbatical, so we can actually practice these contemplative arts. Yeah, it does sound good, doesn't it? Well, before the passage that we heard that was read, Jesus calls out to the crowd, and he thinks that they're being really judgmental, that they're judging. They judged John for being too ascetic and strict, and they judged Jesus for being too joyful and lax, and they lay their judgments and their burdens down, just kind of like your harness. People are invited to lay down their promise with the promise of salvation or healing, a promise of peace, a promise of soothing the wounds of broken hearts, broken bodies, broken lives. Yeah, me too, Geraldine. It brings tears of wonder and gratitude to my eyes to think about this gracious invitation to find refreshment in the arms of Jesus. Well, yeah, that is only the beginning, you're right. We can get the next part of it. Take my yoke upon your shoulders and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble of heart. Here you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Yeah, I guess I understand that you don't want to wear any kind of yoke. You don't like that part. You don't mind the bridle and the harness, but a yoke seems more constrained, restricting. Even if the yoke is gentle, burden is light. Yeah, I hear that you don't like it. Okay, well, let's just then take it metaphorically. Okay, I think that we can think about yokes that we're already wearing, that we already wear yokes, Geraldine. Some of us find it hard to be aware of these yokes because we're so used to them, and they often lead us, at least for a while, in a direction we want to go. Some of the common yokes we might wear, the yoke of work without rest or balance, so that we give most of our life energy to our jobs and we leave the crankiness, the tiredness, the frustrations for those with whom we live. And in the case of God, worship and praise. Yeah, that's one kind of yoke. The yoke of the image of human perfection and donkey perfection and youth that causes us to doubt our beauty, our value, and treat ourselves as less than when we're not physically or emotionally able. Well, you think of yokes, Geraldine. What kind of yokes do you know? The yoke of escapism through alcohol and drugs. Yoke of fear and the yoke of security at all cost. The yoke of feeding the economy and consumerism. The yoke of being liked at all costs. The yoke of trying to control the lives of others. It's pretty good. The yoke of oppression, of the many isms which lead us in directions that we don't want to go. Yeah. Often these yokes are pretty comfortable because we worn them for such a long time and they've served us so well, we don't even know they exist or how much they cost. We may not see them as yokes, but the yokes we wear often are morals that guide our living. The values that shape the time that we spend, the budgets that we create, the burdens that we bear, the experiences that give our lives meaning. So in the past couple of weeks, the United Church of Canada has decided to take on a yoke, that we would wear the yoke of anti-racism, so that we would be steered as a church and as a people in the direction of racial justice. Yeah. Well, yes, and Jesus does call us to examine our yokes and choose one that will give us life. And Jesus reached out to others and asked them to exchange their yokes for something deeper, wider, wilder, life-giving. There are different kinds of yokes, sure, not just metaphorical ones. And I wouldn't want to wear those either. In ancient Rome, there was a wooden yoke was placed on the necks of captives, a conquered enemy, as a sign that they had to be obedient to the Roman emperor and the people, their captors. And sometimes the yoke of servitude was represented by a huge arch that the captives had to go under as they marched into the city. It was either a huge triumphal arch or even a small wooden one that they had to go under, representing the victory of the winner, and for others, a yoke of slavery. The Hebrew scriptures speak of Israel as being under a yoke of unjust rulers or invading notions, a yoke of injustice. Well, yeah, sometimes you're right. Sometimes yokes are good. A yoke can be a wooden frame joining two animals, oxen or donkey like you. Each yoke in those days would be handmade, specifically made for a particular pair of animals, built to your measurements. The yoke was then adjusted so it would fit well, not irritate the necks of the animals. They were called easy because they fit well, perfectly, tailored, bespoke. The yoke harnessed the strength of the two animals, enabling them to work together to pull heavy loads. A yoke of shared work. Yep. And also another kind of yoke is a long pole with a bucket or a pan on each end of the pole, so that the pole enables a person to carry a heavy load by distributing, balancing the weight. It's a pole of strength, a yoke of strength. And yoke was also a common image for Torah and for Mosaic law. And so a common phrase in rabbinic writing is the yoke of the law. So yoke could be an interpretation of the Torah or the Holy Scriptures. So do you remember seeing those videos with Rob Bell? That Rob Bell shares that rabbis differed in how they interpreted the Scriptures? Yeah, kind of like different pastors and preachers. But a verse or a command might be interpreted slightly differently. And the rabbis' interpretations were called the rabbis' yoke. If you wanted to follow a rabbi and applied to be a disciple, it wasn't to learn what the rabbi knows, but to be like the rabbi, to learn what the rabbi does, and to live as the rabbi lives. When the prospective disciples were questioned by the rabbi about the Torah, about the prophets, about the oral traditions, the rabbi wanted to know, can this person do what I do, live the way I live? Can this person spread my yoke, the yoke of the rabbi's interpretation? So religious leaders sometimes will wear stoles made of fabrics and colors of the church year, which include Christian symbols and designs. It's a representation of the yoke of Christ. Now, Jesus encouraged the people to take on his yoke and learn from him. The yoke of Jesus is to learn his way and follow it. And in contrast to earthly rulers, religious and political, Jesus' yoke is meek and lowly of heart. So, Geraldine, how do you feel about the image of sharing your yoke with Christ, of God with us, sharing and carrying the load with us? There is a promise that no matter what we're going through in our lives, no matter how difficult, no matter how much we have tears in our eyes, the promise is that the yoke will fit us perfectly, made for each and every one of us to use our individual strengths and marry them with the love of God and the compassion of Jesus. Not uncomfortable so you get sore spots, but just a gentle pressure to follow the ways of Jesus. And when there are times when we feel like we can't take one more step because the burden is so heavy and onerous, we are reminded that we share that yoke with Christ, who is yoked with us. So Jesus asks us to share the yoke of life and love into the world. And luckily for us, Christ carries the heavier part of that load. One more time? Okay, all right, one more time. Just the last part. Take my yoke upon your shoulders and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble of heart. Here you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Thanks be to God.